So keep in mind that while we're in here, anything you say, all the chats and all that stuff is recorded. And if you're going to use any sort of recording mechanism in Blackboard Collaborate or any other mechanism that you're using with students, I would definitely make sure that you give that disclosure at the beginning, just as you start the recording, so that everyone knows that this is being recorded. Some people have a sensitivity to that, and we want to make sure we are sensitive to that as well. So what you can see is a student desktop on campus. I'm not logged in with administrative privileges. I don't have any special permissions here. And you see I'm logged in the Lanier Tech homepage and AccuPlacer just to prove that it is a student desktop. And what the student would do, or the employee that needs to attend the meeting, they would be able to click a link, hopefully that you've sent them in an email. We'll talk about where that link comes from in the hosting. In the meantime, I'm going to type in that link as if it were being clicked from an email or a chat message, or maybe you can send it to them a text message, any number of ways you can get them into here. We're going to use Chad Womble. If I've got this typed right. Webex.com. Oh, of course, my internet is not working. That would be about right. And you did this just a little while ago. There we go. I typed something wrong the first time, no telling what. So what we are seeing here is the first little bit of the interface to Webex that the end user sees. Not the, again, this is not from the hosting side, this is from the end user side. We're going to cover this, joining this team, we're going to cover making sure our audio and our video works and that type of thing. And then we're going to move on in the further sessions into the hosting and things like that. So what you're going to notice right here is I have an app that I can install. I'm not going to do that right now. We'll do that in another session. But I can actually join from my browser. So if you'll see that link right there, and this is what we would encourage you to have students do. Of course, the Webex meeting app, if they install that, again, I should say this, on your LTC laptops, from my testing, you do not need any sort of special permissions. You don't need administrative access to be able to install that webex.exe to have it on the desktop. But for this session, we're just going to click join from the browser, and I just click that. And this is something you've all seen as you move through this type thing. And I'm going to put in my name, I'm going to put in my email address. And this is not logging in, so don't think of it like that. You see, I could sign in if I wanted to, but I'm not. Again, we're going to pretend I'm a student or an employee that doesn't know about signing into things. So the only thing I'm going to do is just click next. It's going to ask me if I can use. I'm going to say allow. It's going to give me an option to see what might be new, which right now I'm going to skip that. And you're seeing this right now. I know Chad said, just texted me. He's having a couple of issues getting his room going. He's restarting Webex, so he'll be up in just a second, and then we'll join. But what I wanted you to show you right here is this. Now, again, my camera is closed to my laptop, which is behind a couple of monitors, so I can't have it open. But if I click that red and make that video red, that's a video camera symbol, it's supposed to be. That means that it is muted. So red is stop, just like in stoplights. Or lit up if you're, like you said, if you have some colorblind issues. So the video would be on. If I click the icon of the microphone, it's going to mute me. And Webex typically hosts, for the people that are in the meeting, it's going to be in this lower center area is where most of your controls are going to be. I should say this, and this is just a separate thing. You can call in, you can have it call you, and you can have no audio. I don't know why you would ever want no audio, but you can have it call in, or you can have it call you. So if I say I'm going to call in, when I join that meeting, it's going to give me a pop-up, and it's going to give me a telephone number to call, a meeting number, and codes to get in, so it knows that I am who I am. That way, when I'm speaking, it still knows that it's me, and not just caller number one. I could say call me, and that's going to give me a place to put a telephone number, which is really handy. And And that's really great, especially for you if you're a faculty member or you're going to host a meeting. And I know we're not supposed to really talk about hosting, but being able to have those other options to make sure that you let people know about those, or when you're attending, being able to have these other options. If you have a problem with your microphone, and you can call in using your cell phone or have it call you on your cell phone, is very, very handy. So over here on the right-hand side, we've got settings, and it's going to give us options to pick our speaker and our microphone. And of course, this is a virtual machine, so we can't really hear anything. We'll just be able to see stuff. So we can't do any testing with that right now. And the connect to video system is something that we won't use while we're doing the work from home thing. That would only really happen if we were at home, at work, I mean, and we walked into a room with video systems. And honestly, all that stuff is not set up for us yet, so we can just ignore that. So most of the time, you're probably going to want to go in with your video and your audio on. Depending on you as your individual preference, probably your audio at least. A lot of people do like to disable their video. I'm going to click Join Meeting. And Chad is on there. And I'm hoping I don't get a whole lot of feedback. Chad, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to hear you because I have two Webex meetings going here like this. You want to say something?
All right. Can you hear me?
I don't know. Could you guys hear anything through there? Anybody want to put something into the chat or unmute real quick and let me know whether or not you could hear it? They may not be able to, which is okay.
We can hear you. This is Sherry.
Excellent. Good. Great. So this is really interesting because into a virtual machine at campus, and I'm remote controlled into that virtual machine and holding a Webex on my laptop. It's really complicated, which is fun. But as you can see, we've got Chad here for us hosting the meeting. And again, this is from the presenter standpoint. I can mute myself, mute my video, which of course my laptop's closed anyway. Let me unmute. Now, Chad, can you hear me? Awesome. So my mic is headed out to both sessions. That's amazing. Expect that to work. So Chad, if you would, mute your video for us so that people can see what it looks like if you're a presenter and you don't have a video camera. You're seeing it with me anyway, but I want you to see it with him too. And so you just get your initials, or if you have a... Thank you, sir. Very good. So as you can see, what he has there is just his initials. And so that's the default view that people would see if you don't have a camera. Again, I know you guys are seeing that with me right now, but that's okay. And yeah, that Linda has just put a very, very salient point into the message. Of course, we're not really talking about hosting here, but when you are hosting, actually, it doesn't. I digress. It does not matter whether or not you're hosting. What is behind you is very, very important. So take a look at yourself when you have that initial time, when you're just before you join the meeting. You can not only see how you look, but you can see how everything behind you looks as well. Chad, if you'll go ahead and turn your video back on for us. While he's doing that, if you'll notice that my option at the bottom went away when my mouse was still. And that's so it doesn't obscure the video, whether it's a video of an individual or a video of a screen, as you guys are seeing. So what I'm going to do now is show you what all the buttons do. So we know this is our audio. We know this is our video. The next one is share. So right here, we can either share screen or application. This is not something we're going to get into in this session, but that is more for the hosting session and the advanced sessions. In one of the, just as a teaser, in one of the hosting sessions, we'll go through the presenter being able to share their screen and share videos and share files and things of that nature. In the advanced session, we'll talk about what I like to call, and this is my personal term for it, round robin presenting. So maybe you want your students to be able to share their screens with the other students, and you know, maybe you have a speech class and they need to be able to give speeches and round robin through the students. So we'll go over that in the advanced class. You've got the participants button. And so when you press that, and again, you guys are welcome to follow along with this while you're in your session. You've got the participants button, and you're going to see them over here on the right-hand side. And then you have a chat button. Now, what you're going to notice is the chat is going to cover up the participants there for me. I've got chat with all. Now, in the desktop client, you can still see both. You'd be able to see the participants and the chat at the same time. So that is one of the differences. The desktop client has a few nicer things than the web client does. But again, from the standpoint of somebody that's attending the meeting, it's probably nothing that's going to cause any problems. I'm going to turn that off. The next button I have here is 3 dots, menus. So Health Checker is going to run a little check on my audio and video and my bandwidth to make sure everything's okay. My audio connection is going to let me change. Maybe something happened to my microphone and it quit working in the middle of my session. I can disconnect from there and I can tell it to call me, or I can call in and it'll give me the information. There's the information for calling too. So just as an FYI, if you are a host, you can access that information without actually disconnecting your audio and give that to a student or another employee that may be trying to call into the system. And again, that's done through the 3 dots. We got a very small number of icons on the screen, so there's not a lot of different things on here. And then we have our microphone and camera and speaker connections. The setup that we saw before, where you pick, if you have 2 different microphones hooked up to your system, you pick the one you want to use. 2 different speakers, you pick the one that you want to use, that type of thing. So other than that, there's not just a whole lot. Down here in this corner, I can drag this around, by the way, if you haven't done that before. Maybe it's gotten in the way of something you really want to see with the bed frame. I guess maybe that's a bed frame back there, Chad? I'm not sure.
Yes.
See what is
On shoulder.
Yep. Again, we talked about making sure that we were trying to be very clear on what was in the background back there. So we want to see what his bed frame looks like, so I can move my preview, which is all black, my picture of myself, which is all black. Let's see, I'm looking at some of the other chats real quick. We've got another person that wants to right now. Looks like somebody got that invitation forward. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. So you also have a button in the upper left-hand corner for meeting information. It's going to tell you what it is. You can set agendas on meetings. That was the link, which was to Chad's personal room. And then you've got send problem report and other little bits and pieces. Honestly, guys, that's it as far as joining from the browser. Does anybody have any questions or comments on joining from the browser? And if they don't, then Chad, what I'll do is I'll drop out. I'm going to join with the desktop client, walk them, see that install, so they see how easy it is, and I'll come right back. Okay. So if you do have any questions, unmute yourself or type them in the chat. Remember, the chat is the little bubble, almost like a cartoon character speech bubble. You can click that bubble and then start typing at the bottom over here on the right. I'm going to go ahead and drop out of here, Chad. I'll be right back. You see how to leave meeting? We didn't cover that, so there we go. We're at the X at the edge. There we go. How come you did not have to put in a code to enter this meeting? Because we have a new version of Webex. You can still do the whole code thing, but we try to do it in a much easier and easier to use way. So what we did was, and we'll cover that in hosting, how to make that easier for the student. What I recommend is that you always use the personal room. You can do scheduled meetings and they work just fine. But I personally really like the personal room. And again, when we go to hosting, I'll show you how you put that into an invitation and all those types of things. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to lineartech. Well, let me show you guys how to. No, that's for hosting. Never mind. Sorry, this is my very first class running this one, and my agenda is still a little bit jumbled in my head. So let's go to his personal room one more time. I don't have the desktop app. Will the email addresses be saved so we can add additional sessions each day? As far as, I'm not sure what you mean by email addresses there. I'm going to have to get a little bit more clarification on that one. So is there any more information you can give me by which email addresses do you mean? Oh, when we invite students to join the sessions, are they saved? If you set up a recurring invitation, which is what I would recommend for an instructor if you wanted to use it for instruction. I would type in the email addresses one time, set that up as a recurring invitation on Monday, Wednesdays from 8 to 9 a.m. And then, yes, that would be there, and that invitation would be there every Monday, Wednesday until from the start to the end date, just like as if any other recurring meeting that you were able to put in your calendar. So what we notice here is it did not actually try to download that thing again. So as much of a first-time user experience as we possibly can. And once again, pretend this is the link that I clicked, just like you guys clicked the link to come into this meeting. And it's going to prompt me. Well, it knows I've been here before once. So it's still going to give me the option to join from browser, or I can download the desktop app. And so you just saw the browser app, and I want you to see the desktop app. So I'm just going to click download, and it's going to tell me that I need to install it, which is slightly different in every web browser. But most people know how to use the web browser of their choice and know how to install that. So I'm going to click run now. And again, I don't have any administrative permissions on this machine, so I don't need IT. Here. It's going to come for us. I don't even have to sign in. Again, you saw that sign in. We saw this last time. Now we've got the preview again. This is where we would see ourselves, where we can check our background and make sure that everything is okay. Everything is hunky-dory and good to go. And I can stop showing my self-view video in mirror view. If you guys are familiar with mirror view, that's where it's going to flip things around so it doesn't look weird to you when you're looking at it. Again, we've got the exact same options down here at the bottom. It looks identical. I'm going to click Join Meeting. But this time, instead of being in the web browser, it's in a separate app. And you'll notice I have icons up top that are separate. So I think somebody may have a question. Oh, accidental unmute. All righty. So Chad's here with us. Awesome. And Chad is there we go. And there is his video again. And one thing to note, guys, is I am hosting this over I'm not sure how smooth everything is for y'all, but it's decently smooth for me. And I'm hosting this over a cell phone connection. So I don't have some sort of super high speed special internet connection to host this meeting. And we have 61 folks in here with us. And Chad is going to type to us here. Here's his welcome message. So you can see the chat panel. Now I wanted to show you one of the differences. When I click participants here, you're going to note that I've got both. So I don't just have to look at one or the other. One of the things that's also nice in the desktop, if I want to send something only to an individual, you can go where it says everyone, click the drop down, and you can only pick a single person, and that's a private chat between you and that individual. It does not have to go just to the host, though most of the time that's probably who you're going to want to send a message to. Other things that are here are mute, which is up here, of course, or you can do your regular mute like we talked about last time. You can copy the meeting link, which makes it easy for you to send and share to other folks. We've got meeting information here, which is also the same thing that's in our nice little eye icon that's up there. If we wanted to share things with the presenter, we'd have our ability to share here or share down here. As you notice, probably a lot of these things really up top mirror the capabilities that we have down here in the bottom. And again, we've got our 3 icons here, but in this one, we do have a notes feature where I could take notes on my own for the meeting. And when I exited the meeting, it would be able to email me a copy of those notes, which is a nice little feature to have. So you don't have to have a separate application open and try to have 2 monitors and move your mouse over to one monitor and take your notes. You can do it all within this app, and it'll save this stuff at the end of it and email it to you. And I'm going to do this as a test. Let's see if this is, again, a very small thing, but if I wanted to pin this up top, I could actually put a lock video on, and that what I would do is it's going to show me instead of Chad. We'll go over more about that in the hosting. It's not something you'll probably do too much with as an attendee. As an attendee, if you'll notice here, I have a raise hand option. This is excellent for instructors if you have a question in the class. And now, Chad, you should have an indicator that there's a raised hand in the participants area.
Yes.
And again, we'll go over that more in the
top right corner.
Very good. We'll go over that more in the hosting piece when we do hosting, either tomorrow or Friday. But I did want you guys to see that as a host, you don't have this, so I have to be in as an actual. You can't even see that at all, so I have to actually be in as a client or as a user, while Chad is the host on this one to be able to use the raise hand.
And if you have the participants window up, when someone raises a hand, you'll see the indicator by their name.
Very good. And that's very extraordinarily useful because then you can leave everyone muted. There's an option when you're the host, mute on entry and mute all. And so you can leave everybody muted. And if somebody raises their hand, you can come over and click the. Of course, I can't do that to Chad because he is the host. And I wouldn't be able to do it to anyone else because I'm only attending in here. But I could mute or unmute as the host anyone on those in the entire list. So it's very, very handy. So once again, guys, this is strictly WebEx 101, how to attend a meeting, what the different functions are, what it looks like for desktop versus web browser version, things of that nature. As you can see, it's fairly simple to use. I will say that WebEx is not limited to a computer. You can use a Mac, you can use a PC, you can use a tablet, you can use a phone. I've attended many WebExes from my phone. Pulled off to the side of the road because I was running behind or something like that. I was able to pull up that on my phone. I know actually in the room that I'm in now, I had the flu about a year ago, maybe just a little bit over a year ago at this point in time. And there was a meeting that I was supposed to attend, a WebEx meeting, and I'd left the laptop in another area of the house and didn't want to go out and contaminate the whole house, and get my whole family sick. So I was able to grab my phone and very easily, quickly join that WebEx meeting. So it's very handy tool to have, and I think you'll see a lot of value from it, especially now we have it available to all employees, and all employees can be hosts. So that's an excellent thing to know. So please keep that in mind. And this is not, you should limit this to college use, obviously, but it's not limited to instructional. It's not limited to staff use. If you have a meeting with coworkers and it's work related, obviously, then please feel free to use WebEx. There's no need to call IT to schedule anything. This will all just work and work actually really, really well. The other piece to this to be aware of, and this is the last piece that I'll cover before I finish my presentation portion and then ask for questions, is that this will also interact with all of the new conference rooms that we have on campus. And I know we're not on campus right now, but you can dial from here into one of those video conference rooms and have a whole group of students dialed in from their homes, and while you've got students in class as well, or you could be presenting from there while the students are at home, or vice versa. The students could be in the room while you're at home presenting into the room. So there's tons of different options that are available because it can interact with not just PCs and phones, but also the new video conference room systems that we're setting up. So does anyone have any questions about attending a WebEx? Anything that we may not have covered that we should cover in a future session? What time and day will WebEx 201 be? I'm going to decide that in about 10 minutes or so after we finish this session. And we will host more WebEx 101s. We'll see what the attendance is like. When the attendance falls off, we'll stop posting them. This is recorded and we will post it so everyone will be able to view this. Same thing for WebEx 201. We will be recording WebEx 101, 202, and 203 as well. So again, feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions. Or, there we go, from David. You can share files and content under share content at the very bottom. So that is very true. Now, we're going to cover that most certainly, though all the 101s will be the exact material. Yes, that is correct. So we'll cover this more in hosting because that's where you're going to want people to be able to you're probably going to be the one sharing the files for the most part. But not only do we have the ability to share screens or specific applications, but we can share files and whiteboards and do things. And yes, I will most certainly send out a link to the recording to everyone. Any other questions? All right, I promise that we try to keep it under 30 minutes. My staff would tell you that yes, it will work with Word docs. Absolutely. I appreciate everyone coming in. We had over 60 folks. That's awesome. And again, we will have Webex 202 in 201, excuse me, in the not too distant future. All right, thank you guys. I'm going to stop the recording now. Have a good evening.